Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to look ahead to 2026 because it's really shaping up to be a huge turning point for our economy. We're talking about the big stuff, the fundamental building blocks of the next decade, things like artificial intelligence, robotics, and clean energy. These are the forces that are actively reshaping our world right now as we speak. So, let's get into it. So, the big question on everyone's mind is, where is all of this actually heading? It can feel pretty overwhelming, I know. But here's the thing. The answer really lies in understanding just a few powerful, almost unstoppable trends. Our goal today is to give you a clear map, a guide to the forces that are shaping the next few years. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to start with the big picture, just to see the major forces at play. Then we'll dive deep into 7 key sectors you'll want to watch. After that, we'll talk about how to approach all of this with a smart plan, and we'll wrap up with the right mindset to navigate it all. You ready? Let's do it. Okay, first up, the big picture. See, before we can even begin to talk about specific companies or industries, we have to get a handle on the foundational shifts that are driving everything else. These really are the unstoppable forces of our time. Just take a look at this list. These aren't just little shifts. These are deep, structural transformations. We're talking about AI becoming as common as the internet. Robots are moving out of the factory and into our daily lives. And clean energy? Well, it's not some niche market anymore. It's a global priority. Every single one of these represents a fundamental change in how we live, work, and interact.
And just a quick but really important note before we go any further. This whole explainer is purely for educational purposes. We're here to understand the trends and learn about the companies that are shaping our world. This is absolutely not financial advice. Our mission here is all about empowering you with knowledge.
All right, let's get to the main event. We're going to connect those big picture trends we just talked about to 7 specific sectors that are right at the heart of this transformation. This is where we get to see the industries that are literally building our future. First on the list, of course, is artificial intelligence. Honestly, it's impossible to overstate how important this is. The best way to think about AI is like it's the new electricity. It's this fundamental utility that's going to power pretty much every other industry. It's already boosting productivity and creating this huge demand for new hardware and software. So let's look at the ecosystem here. You've got NVIDIA making the specialized chips that are essentially the brains of AI. Then you have giants like Microsoft and Alphabet building the cloud and software infrastructure. That's kind of like the nervous system. And companies like Meta are using their massive data sets to train powerful AI models. Each one is building a critical piece of this new electrical grid. Next up, robotics and automation. And no, this isn't science fiction anymore. Robots are becoming absolutely essential in factories, warehouses, even in hospitals. So why now? Well, it's a perfect storm of things. Labor shortages, rising wages, and this relentless need for 24/7 productivity and precision. So who are the major players here? You've got these industrial giants like ABB and Fanuc. They're the workhorses building the robots that build our cars and our electronics. And then you have the pioneers like Boston Dynamics, whose robots can run and jump and do backflips. They're pushing the absolute limits of what's possible. And of course, you have Tesla developing its Optimus humanoid robot, which is trying to bring robotics into more general, everyday tasks. Let's move to our third sector, clean energy and electric vehicles. Now this is a big one. It's being pushed by both government policy and the rapidly falling costs of technologies like solar panels and batteries. And because of that, this whole transition feels less like a choice and more like an inevitability. It's really about how we're going to meet our rising energy demands in a sustainable way. And this is a complete ecosystem. You've got a company like NextEra Energy, which generates the clean power. Then you have KTL, the world's largest battery maker, creating the storage for that power. And then companies like Tesla and BYD put that power on the road with their electric vehicles. It's a full chain from generation to storage to use. Now for a sector that affects every single one of us, healthcare and biotech. With aging populations all over the world and these incredible new technologies like AI-powered diagnostics and revolutionary gene editing, this field is just seeing an explosion of innovation. And the innovation here is just so diverse. You've got pharmaceutical leaders like Pfizer developing new medicines. You've got pioneers like Moderna with their groundbreaking vaccine technology. Then you have Intuitive Surgical bringing robotics right into the operating room. And companies like CRISPR Therapeutics are on the cutting edge of editing our very genes to cure diseases. It's truly amazing stuff. As our entire world becomes more digital, the locks on our digital doors become more important than ever. And that brings us to cybersecurity. Think about it this way. If the internet is like a new, giant city, then cybersecurity firms are the ones building the police force, the alarm systems, and the secure vaults. It is absolutely essential.
It's helpful to think of digital defense in layers. So CrowdStrike protects our individual devices, our laptops and our phones. Palo Alto Networks provides comprehensive security for entire companies. Okta handles your identity, making sure you are who you say you are online. And then a company like Cloudflare works to secure the very infrastructure of the internet itself.
Sector number 6 is driven by a really simple but powerful idea. Cash is disappearing. I mean, think about it. From your morning coffee to global e-commerce, money is going digital. This shift to fintech and digital payments is one of the most visible transformations happening in our daily lives.
These companies are basically the new pipes and plumbing for our money. Visa and MasterCard are the massive global networks that make cashless transactions possible. PayPal is a giant in the online world. And a company like Block, which used to be Square, is innovating for small businesses, making digital payments accessible to everyone. They are the ones making a cashless world happen.
And finally, we have a sector that's been quietly becoming massive: space and satellite technology. Thanks to dramatically cheaper launch costs and a growing demand for services like global satellite internet, space is no longer just for governments. It's becoming a rapidly growing commercial industry.
The players here are this really interesting mix of disruptive newcomers and established giants. You have SpaceX, which has completely changed the game in launch services, making space way more accessible. But you also have these aerospace and defense titans like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, who are key players. And then companies like Iridium are operating these massive satellite networks that connect our world. This is definitely a long-term play, but it's a powerful one.
Okay, so we've covered the what, those 7 key sectors. Now let's shift gears and talk about the how. Because look, understanding these trends is only half the battle. To navigate this future effectively, you really need a plan, one that's built on timeless principles.
This is really the steady framework you need. The key is to focus on the big, long-term waves we've been talking about, not the daily hype you see online. Spread your focus across different sectors. Look for healthy, growing businesses with solid fundamentals. And maybe most importantly, be consistent and try to remove emotion from the equation. The real goal is to understand the business, not just watch the stock price go up and down.
This brings us to our final, and maybe the most important section, the mindset. The goal of everything we've talked about today isn't to perfectly predict the future. I mean, come on, nobody can do that. The real goal is to understand the powerful forces that are shaping it.
And this quote just says it all. The best investors don't predict the future, they position themselves for it. The future belongs to the prepared. It's about thinking in decades, not days. It's about focusing on real innovation. By understanding the major trends in AI, robotics, clean energy, and everything else, you're not just guessing, you're positioning yourself for where the world is so clearly heading. So the final question is pretty simple. Are you ready? Stay curious and keep learning.